right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Pregame Cheat Sheet. I'm Darren Smith along with Steve Walls, who is in Tampa Bay over at Raymond James Stadium. Steve, what's the atmosphere like in tonight's game where the Kansas City Chiefs will be taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? 7:30 local time down there for you and 6:30 back here for us.
Sorry, I'm laughing because on the big screen they had just showed a young guy that was mid bite eating his hot dog, and with all the ketchup on it, it was like he was just like, nah, y'all not gonna do me like that. But
Pause
yeah,
worthy. Okay.
it's pretty warm outside, man. Honestly, it kind of feels like it's that Jacksonville type weather. Of course,
Mugginess,
we
huh?
got to see be in Jacksonville the last two preseasons or last 2 years
Yeah.
for a preseason games. So it just kind of gives that similar feeling to how the weather is.
All right, well, the Kansas City Chiefs again. They will be taking on in preseason game number 2, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Chiefs coming to this game 0-1 on the preseason. Of course, Patrick Mahomes and most of the starters will be out again for the second game. Whether or not they play next Friday night remains to be seen for any particular series or not. But let's start. Let's start. At the head of the snake. What do you expect to see from Justin Fields in tonight's game? I know the first game he was 4-4 for 41 yards. You and I were in the Chiefs press box and we were talking about whether or not his accuracy of what we
Mhm.
saw during the off season would translate that to the field. What are you hoping to see this time around?
I just want to see more of his game. Like I mean, we've seen Justin Fields over the last few years and just the teams that he's played for, and I mean it's been kind of subpar, right? Like he hasn't been able to showcase him, or at least he's tried to, but just it wasn't right. So I think I just want to be able to see him uh, showcase his talent a little bit, man. Because, and I know we're going to talk about Patrick Mahomes, but just in case he has to play Week 1, I want to be able to see what he has. Don't hold anything back.
Yeah, and of course we'll also see Garrett Nussmeier and perhaps even Chris Oladukin.
Mhm.
Chiefs. One thing that we hope, Steve, that they clean up from the first game of their pregame or their preseason is the penalties. I think they had about 12 penalties
Yeah.
in the last game. I know you might have been out at camp this week. How do you feel like they've gotten better or they've worked on it since last Saturday's game? That we'll see a lot of improvements in tonight's game.
I mean, Andy said it best, man. It's not a a learning thing. It's more of a just get it done, basically. Because you get those flags. I mean, that's something that you can control. You know,
Yeah.
um, Especially when you're talking offensive line. There shouldn't be an instance where you're offsides. You are the one that knows what the cadence is. Um, but I say that to say, I think that they're going to have it all fixed. I don't feel like we will see any penalties from the offensive line this week, just because
Well, we might
I
not see
think
as
they made.
many.
Yeah, well, no, I think they made it a point of interest.
Okay.
Remember, they have a guy back that is controlling this offense that
Hmm.
is it holds coach guys accountable. So I really feel like they made it a point of interest because it was magnified on the big stage last week.
Yeah.
so so now you can't hide it, especially if you're doing the same things in practice.
Chiefs, of course, kickoff is going to be at the bottom of the hour at 6:30 local time here in Kansas City, 7:30 in Tampa. One of the things that we talked about in the offseason, and that was also going to be a point of emphasis as we talked about, was the run game and whether or not Andy Reid and this offense was going to utilize the running backs more, based off of what we've seen over the last couple of seasons.
Sure.
Obviously, Kenneth Walker not playing tonight, not probably won't play in preseason at all. But we saw a lot of Emmett Johnson. Emmett Johnson played well. I think he had 12 carries for 59 yards. We saw a little bit of DeMarcado and also Brashard Smith. What are you seeing from the run game? Per what we saw last week, improving. Look, they ran for 28 times for 125 yards. So they can run the football if they choose to do so. So how do you feel like they'll improve going into week number 2 tonight?
Don't let Kenneth Walker slide. He did play one snap last week.
Okay.
It
All
wasn't
right.
much,
It
but
was
he played.
okay. He did the Chris Jones thing. I got
He
you. I
got he
got you.
got he got one snap, but I think they made a point of emphasis, man, of running the ball. I mean, we saw that last week with Emmett Johnson, where they were letting him spin, and I think that within that we're going to see a lot of screen game, and I don't quite know if the team just wasn't comfortable with it, and of course we know Andy was really pass heavy, but I think just from what I've been seeing in training camp, it's been a lot of screen action, and then you got to see guys being able to be effective running the ball last week.
Yeah, you
So
actually. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, no, and what we've talked about all these just in the past couple of years is the fact that defenses have just been able to sit back, play the pass, and force them to force them to run. So I don't think they're going to be able to do that now, just because you have somebody that's respectable that you have to respect. That's back there, Kenneth Walker.
Steve Walls and Darren Smith here on the pregame cheat sheet, live from Tampa Bay, Florida. That's where Steve Walls is tonight. We'll be back together in the press box on Friday night with the pregame show as the Chiefs round out their their, their preseason action as they host the Seattle Seahawks, and of course that'll be next Friday night at 7 o'clock. Steve, when you look at this defense, and we'll get back to that in just a second. Mansur Delane, got a chance to get some practice time in
hmm
without the yellow jersey. What did you see from him, and is there any expectation that he's going to get any reps in tonight's preseason action?
I feel like he is, that's what I'm really wanting him to see. I mean, because the Buccaneers are playing Baker Mayfield, like
Mm.
they've come out and said that Baker's going to play today. So um, from what I've seen in Mansour, is he has a very physical presence, and the way he plays is physical, and I like it. Um, but I don't. I'm hoping he has the. If I'm looking at a guy who I'd like to see what you remember when what was the rookie, um, sheesh, Marcus Peters. You remember
Yes.
the energy Marcus Peters had when his rookie season, and how he played, and the aggressiveness he played with, and just the poise that he had.
He played
Um,
well up to one defensive rookie of the
yeah,
year, so
yeah.
yes.
So they trusted him, and then he shut his part of the field down. So I want to see if he could be half of that. I'm not saying he's gonna go out there and win defensive rookie of the year. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying if he can get kind of close to how Marcus Peters was his rookie season.
I'm gonna ask you because
I said
we've
I said that I said that as the bar, because we
you
we
know
watched it.
and I want to ask you because on some of our other shows that you and I do, I know the talk has probably come about Mansour. And so I want to ask you, how much pressure do you feel like is on him? And I don't know whether or not the Chiefs will, they won't say it publicly, but silently and maybe in the background. How much pressure do you feel like he feels that he needs to perform at that high level in replacing a Trent McDuffie, based on the draft status, based on, his rookie deal and
Yeah,
stuff like that, and the fact that he's essentially the only one, the only rookie that's assured of a starting position.
yeah. When you drafted that low, I mean, no matter what position you are, you know that you
That
have.
high.
Or, yeah, that high. Sorry, you have you already know that you have a kind of a
The
target, so
bullseye.
to speak,
Yeah.
on your back. Yeah, everybody's watching you just because of where you were drafted, and that expectation is come in and play right away. Now, of course, there's going to be growing pains. That just happens in any sport. But I feel like and I don't want to speak for him, but I just from what I've seen is the confidence is there. I don't think that there's a lack of that. I think his big thing is going to be picking up Spag's playbook and understanding like the different concepts that Spags wants to do. So I'm that would be my only concern, is the fact that, how has he been able to pick up the things that Spags, because he hasn't practiced, and until last week. I mean, he was during every huddle he would run out, hear the play, then run back off the field. So I mean, I've never seen a guy do that in training camp. So that was new to me. But as far as getting reps, I think he has to get some today.
And Steve, we look at this team, we look at this defense. What were you impressed by last week? I know we didn't get a chance to actually, to do our normal post game stuff, but was there anything that stood out on the defensive side of the ball for you?
Jaden Hicks. I think
Oh
Jaden
yeah,
Hicks
good call. Yeah,
really stood out last week. You can tell, he wants to be to have his presence felt. I mean, the guys that he played with, that he came in when he first got into the league, they're no longer here. Talking just the
yeah,
secondary. I
yeah.
mean, they're no longer
No
here. Well,
Brian Cook. Yeah,
Shamari Connor is no Williams, of course, but the leaders of that secondary. I mean, the Justin Reeds,
Brian
the,
Cook.
the Brian Cook, the Trey McDuffies, all those guys, Joshua Williams, even all those guys. I mean, they're gone. So I feel like he is basically understanding the assignment of, all right, I've got to make my presence felt. Um, because he sees all these new guys coming in. I mean, it's kind of like it's kind of like when you've been around the block a little while, and you got some new kids on the block, and you're like, man,
Yeah.
I've been here. Yeah, I do. Like y'all ain't about to show me up. So I feel like he's there. And I asked him after the game last week, and I was like, man, just you seem like you're more confident, more settled in. He's like, I am. I feel like I'm where I need to be right at this point. So.
Any chance we see Legarius Sneed in tonight's game?
Ooh, as I'm looking out, I was trying to see if I saw him warming up. I don't see 38 out there, so I don't think so.
Interesting. This week, I mean, this is the final week that the Chiefs are going to be out. Be out at training camp in St. Joe. Now once they get back with this game, they'll come back home and they'll be,
Hmm.
settled in, at the practice facility going further. What do how do you feel like the camp-like atmosphere help, with a lot of new faces who experience Andy Reid's press conference? I mean, his training camp for the first time.
I mean, Andy and the Chiefs are one of the. I think there's 3 or 4 teams that still get away from their city to go and do training camp. So I think that helps where you're just away with it's you and the rest of the guys. I feel like that helps. And then how Andy runs his training camp practices. I mean, everything's up tempo. Everything is you don't really get if you're a rookie, you don't get a chance to think. It's just you're going through repetition, 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 and then you got to think after practice of like what did I do? So I think that helps to where everything is going so fast um, that when you get to a game, it's kind of it should be easier for you.
It was good to see him last week. Eric Bieniemy's presence back on the sidelines, with the headphones on and just being back in there. It's I get it seems for me because I feel like we're a close situation, but I do want to give you a chance to get your thoughts on how what it felt like to have Eric Bieniemy back in that fold. It's one thing to see him in camp, but now seeing him back on the sidelines with the headsets on, knowing that he's out there calling the plays and getting in the players players first. We talked about holding them accountable, but also there to just not only encourage them, but to motivate them and to get on them when
Hmm.
when they need to.
Man, I think excuse me. I think Travis said it best. um, where he was like, sometimes he'll get on you, and it's just how you take it. If you
Yeah.
take it the right way, it makes you a better person. And for a star like that to say, that it makes you a better person with him, because and don't get me wrong, not everybody takes coaching the same. Not everybody takes, criticism the same. However, if you buy in, and that's all it's about is just buying in and being able to understand like it's not a point of like him getting on you just all the time. It's the point of him trying to make you better because a lot of guys will say it. He'll get on you, but he's one of the first ones that'll come in and congratulate you on if you do something well.
No
But
doubt.
it's always good to I mean even hear him finish. Yeah. I mean that within itself. is what had been missing the past few years, on top of a bunch of other things. But just something small, so small, like telling the running backs, everybody get to the end zone, finish the play.
Yeah.
And I believe it was Monday where I think Rasheed Rice kind of halved after a catch. He just kind of jogged, and AB is like, "No, finish," and everybody heard it. And then Rasheed just kind of jogged out the field. But then the next time that he got the ball, he was running all the way to the sideline.
I know
I
he
mean, to the
was.
to the to the end zone. So it's just small things like that I think translates over into the regular season.
I know we didn't get a chance to talk about it much last week, but how do you feel like it's again, a lot of these players wasn't around in 2022 when the Chiefs last won the Super Bowl. So that
Yeah.
means most of them wasn't around when EB was here. So how do you feel like it's been again from what we see in training camp and all season thus far, and then as we move into the actual games being played, how much of a rude awakening do you feel like that these players are going to be in that they haven't had a chance? I mean, they've had a few weeks and a couple of months, so to speak, but they haven't really seen what EB is really going to be like until the regular season kicks off. How do you feel like they're making this adjustment so far?
I think I mean I haven't heard anything to where it's been a bad adjustment. I mean I think they've gotten everything they needed to know from the players who have been here. I mean on the defensive side, I mean Chris Jones was here, Nick Bolton was here, so from those guys being the leaders, I'm sure the word has gotten out. And on the offensive side, you had a lot of those guys that were here as well. So I mean the word's out, they understand. But then you got to remember, you guys are looking at this as a winning organization. So it's like, well, if we're winning, maybe that's why they were, as good as they were. Whereas you look at the report that came out of what was it, Washington, where it was
Yeah,
like, oh, he's coaching us too hard or something like.
that is still
Well,
the funniest thing I've
well,
heard.
it's. I mean, the expectation there is low. So if they understand, like, hey, this is the expectation, then I mean, there's no argument.
Yeah, no, I get it. Chiefs kickoff in about 28 minutes at the bottom of the hour. Steve Walls, Darren Smith here with the pregame cheat sheet live from Tampa Bay, Florida. It's Steve Walls at the Raymond James Stadium. Steve, looking back at this offense and the team overall, one thing we kind of joked about is, and I talked to him briefly in the locker room after the game, Harrison Bucker.
Hmm.
He is obviously going to lead the team in scoring in the preseason
Let's
with his
hope not.
four. No, I'm talking about in the preseason
Oh
with
yeah,
his
for sure.
with his 4 for 4 kicking on last week. But seeing special teams, was there anything that stood out special team wise? Because I know a lot of times we talk about offense and defense, and we kind of neglect a little bit, on the third part of the game. But how do you feel special team looked? I mean, I know, Ariza, I mean, he did pretty well, obviously, with the field position and with the punts and stuff. Averaging, I think, as long as he had last week was 57, I think it was.
Hmm.
But how do you know, when you got a chance to look at the special teams play last week, what stood out for you?
I mean, you always gonna have these guys that go hard just because they understand, like, and Dave
Yeah,
told expresses to them, like, hey, this is how you're gonna be able to make this team.
right.
And so I think there's not a lot of lackluster, um, when you look at guys on the special teams in training camp or even in the preseason games, just because they're trying to get on the team, so they're going to do every little thing, is being kind of micromanaged. So and then from Harrison's standpoint, he talked about earlier in training camp that he took practice a little differently this year. Um, and what he wanted to do, in training camp. So, I mean, it looks like it's paying off. To be honest.
One of the things that stood out for us last week was not only the running game, but some of the offensive weapons that the Chiefs got a chance to put on display as it relates to the wide receivers. And Jalen Rose got a chance to get some playing time last week.
Hmm.
We saw Jake Brennan Stool and also Cyrus Allen, who had a couple of big catches, including one where he was climbing the ladder, so to speak. Anything stand out with you with our wide receiving and tight end play?
I mean, they are who we thought they are, because you think about just the guys that were here last year and the additions of a guy like Cyrus Allen. He could, definitely step into a role where, um, step into a role where he's a legit number two. And don't get me wrong, I don't think they really have a number one right now.
Mhm.
Now, if Rasheed could be what he was his rookie season, then yeah. But as of right now, I don't think that they have a legit dog number one. It just and it's no disrespect to them, but it's just like a couple guys that are just complementary pieces. I think somebody has to step up and be like the number one. Say, hey, I'm gonna go to like for instance when Tyreek was here, you knew come hell or high water. And that was the saying, like, if it Tyreek's down there somewhere, because that was they people guys knew that was his go to.
Yeah. Looking at this as we wrap up, Steer, and of course, when we get to week number one, we'll have more in depth because we'll know who the 53 man is, we'll know the starter stuff like
Hmm.
that, so we can talk more in place.
Sure.
Right now, we got what's before us and what's going to be shown on the field tonight. As we close out, your closing thoughts on what to expect, what Chiefs fans can expect from these players in tonight's game, those that are going to get their crack at it. Because I had explained to a lot of people that the reason why you're not seeing a lot of starters now because you cut it down to 3 games, the preseason. Now you got to take a look at what you actually have, of the players who are trying to make the squad,
Hmm.
and then those that you're trying to get tape on for potential draft picks or something via trade or whatever. So in tonight's game, how do you feel like Chiefs fans should watch this game and what should they be looking out for?
I mean, a lot of this team is already set. Um, you're gonna be looking at some of the extra things that guys do to try to make the team. The extra block here, the hustle here. But I feel like when you look at just how the team is made up, um, they should be looking at Justin Fields, right? Because I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and I was saying this earlier. It's like if if Patrick doesn't, he's not playing tonight. If he doesn't play next week, I don't think he's playing week one. That's just me.
Who, Patrick?
Yeah, I don't see where it's a
Oh wow.
scenario where I don't see it's a scenario where he's gonna be going out there against Denver Monday night. He hasn't had any game reps. I just if he does, cool. But like I don't see it. Is be hard for him not to because every preseason he talks about just wanting to get that first hit in. Seriously.
It's no. I'm laughing because literally, word for word is what I've said on some of our other shows or whatever, and it's like, and that just shows. I tell people one that shows how long you and I've been sitting there shows in the press box that bar for bar. That's literally what I tell people that Patrick year in and year out says that he has, he feel like he has to wait in the preseason at least a couple of series so he can train his body how to fall once he gets hit. I keep
Hmm.
telling people just like you in my mind, it baffles me that it would be his first time getting hit is when a defensive lineman or a linebacker comes at him and hits him in the Denver game and he doesn't know how to fall or train his body. So
Yep.
again, to me, I mean, Andy has every right to play court. And look, I get it this time around. This is a different injury than Patrick has had in the past that he's come back from, to
Yep.
where you don't, to where you kind of want to put him, in a glass, a glass room or whatever, just to get him to the regular season. But to me, if you say that Patrick has done everything, OTAs, mini camp, training camp, he's done everything, and he's been able to go full, full go. It's hard for me to see that he not take at least a series
Yep.
next week,
Yep.
next Friday night, just for the home team, just for the home fans, and maybe 1 or 2 series, and then you get him out of there
Yep.
just so he can just because I feel like he has to get that because you're not going to let him get hit in practice, so he's got to get that one hit at full speed so he kind of get just feels what it's like, saying to hit the ground again because he hasn't been hit since he got hurt.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. That's exactly my same thing. That what I'm saying is like you want him to be able to because it's still it's a huge mental thing, you know,
Yeah,
to understand like, hey, my knee is good. I mean, it's one thing to do preseason, training camp, but then it's another thing to actually take those like live bullets
yeah,
in a game. But then I can see on the flip side of that, you don't want a third string or second string guy like last week. They didn't even travel a bunch of their starters. The Rams didn't.
yeah,
So you don't want that second, third string guy that is trying to make a team, uh, barreling down and coming at your quarterback, that's coming back from an ACL. So there's that, but I still feel like you got to play. Like you can't just put him in bubble wrap all preseason and then expect him to come out week one on a game where you need to win. Um,
right out the rip.
yeah,
And that's the
yeah.
reason why. That's why I feel like he's going to play regardless if he doesn't play, because you can't afford to go 0-1 against Denver, because that's
Hmm.
essentially a 2 game. You 2 games down already, and so no, I mean, look, I'm with you 1,000%. Where it baffles my mind, but Andy's Andy, man, and he's got the cash. And look, and again, I get it, because Matthew Stafford probably is not going to play this preseason. And again, if you trust Mahomes enough and you trust Rick Burkholder and your medical staff and Patrick say he's good, I mean, we just gotta. I mean, no, did it? We just got to take it.
But still, Matthew Stafford played into up into end of January. Patrick didn't. This was an
Yeah,
extended
yeah,
extended off season, man. So
yeah,
with
for
that
sure.
being
Yeah,
said, it was an extended everything.
yeah,
So yeah, it's gonna be and we were saying this earlier that Andy holds a lot of things close to the vest. Um, and so even if he was not gonna play next or in game one, we wouldn't know.
yeah. And even if he did play, we wouldn't know. I mean, he would. I mean, Patrick is probably going to dress like he normally does, and Patrick would probably. You know what? I'm gonna go out on a limb. I think he does get in. I think he does get in one series next Friday, and then comes out. Again, like you, I he just has to, man. I mean,
Yeah,
he just has to.
yeah. What would you be holding back for?
Yeah,
You know?
I mean, even if it's just to hand the ball off, just
Yeah,
get him in the end. One, so the fans can see him, because everybody can't afford to go to these regular season games, at the cost that they are. So,
yeah.
but Steve, before we get out of here, let everybody know how they can contact or follow you on social media, and then give a shout out to our sponsors, please.
Yeah, you catch me at Steve Walls KC on all social media platforms at the W Show KC on everything as well. And shout out to my friends over at Dillard's on the Rosa, always taking care of my game day look. Make sure you go talk to them. They're over located at Zona Rosa. That's Dillard's at Zona Rosa.
And of course, you can follow me at Darren Smith NFL on all the social media platforms as well. Give a shout out to my guy Todd White and Todd's Closers and Taylor Suits, and also Gates Barbecue. I mean, look, if you don't have your pregame meal before, they open late on the weekend, so you can go by after the game as well and get you some good food. And of course, make sure you load up on Gates next Friday, prior to the Chiefs' last home preseason game of 2026. For Steve Walls, I am Darren Smith. We'll be back next Friday night with the pregame cheat sheet live from Arrowhead Stadium. As we say, you're not following us. I don't know what your problem is, but Steve, safe travels coming back. We'll see you next week.
Peace.
We out.